Well, for more, let's bring in Jasmine El-Gamal. She's a political analyst and former Pentagon advisor who joins me now from London. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So it's an event that's obviously going to go down in history, but what is the immediate impact this could have on the presidential race?
Right, of course. Everyone is still in extreme shock, I think. I mean, what we saw yesterday was just incredibly rattling, obviously. And the big question is, what happens now? Where do we go from here? What kind of impact will this have on the presidential election, which is one of the most consequential elections, I would say, that I have ever seen? And it's unclear yet what kind of impact this will have on President Trump's standing, on his numbers, on the race itself. But one thing is very clear is that it will all depend, in my opinion, on how President Trump chooses to use this moment moving forward. You have the Republican National Convention coming up. He's obviously going to be talking about this. And the question is he going to use this moment to tone down the divisive political rhetoric that has led us to this point, including from himself, or is he going to use it as a way to further fan the flames?
And Trump has always attempted to present himself as a strongman and a sort of charismatic leader. How has this attack affected his image, do you think? I mean, how do you think this changes how people view him?
A couple of different ways. I mean, his initial reaction, his instinct when he was being led back up after being on the ground by the Secret Service was to raise his fist in the air and say, fight, fight, fight. But then he wrote a post on his social media network that was more sort of calm, more trying to lower the temperature down, saying that something terrible almost happened. He was thanking the Secret Service. He was talking about the loss of life that occurred and expressing condolences to that family. So it really is. It could go two different ways. One would hope that in his address at the RNC, the Republican National Convention, that Donald Trump would say, look, I am also guilty of this. We have been using divisive political rhetoric for way too long. It's brought us to a really dark place. We have 4 more months and we cannot continue like this, and to pledge to do better. Now, will he do that? Knowing what we know about him, it's not likely, but one has to hope that he sees this as a wake-up call, as so many Americans do right now.
And what do you think this could mean for Joe Biden then? Because it comes at a time when he was facing immense pressure to step down as the Democrat nominee. Will this attack help divert the attention?
Exactly. Great question. I mean, I think that President Biden is really going to be under a microscope right now as well in terms of how he reacts to this. I mean, people were talking before about his energy levels and his age. Will he rise to the occasion as the sitting president? Is he going to have it in him to have that energy to really rally the nation and lead the nation forward in a positive manner? If he is able to do that, I think it could help him. But if he isn't, if he's seen as being weak and fatigued and really too tired to rise to the moment, I think it could affect him quite negatively.
And lastly, let's talk about the violence in US politics, or rather the history of violence in US politics, because obviously this is not the first time that such an assassination attempt has been made on a high-profile political figure.
Right. I mean, obviously, we haven't seen an assassination against a former or sitting president since Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. And so this is a huge shock to everyone. But violence itself in the US has been an ongoing issue. The issue of gun control has been an ongoing issue. Why was this gunman who is 20 years old and can't even rent a car in certain states? Why was he able to get access to an automatic rifle and shoot at a former president? I mean, these are all questions that didn't just come up yesterday. We've been talking about these issues. There have been school shootings, there have been nightclub shootings, there have been all kinds of shootings over the years and all kinds of violence that really have to be addressed. And I'm hopeful that this is going to be a moment that will shock everyone into really thinking about these issues. Is this the way we want to continue moving forward as Americans, or will we finally have the courage to tackle these issues and to move forward in a more peaceful way?
All right, political analyst and former Pentagon advisor Jasmine El-Gamal, thank you so much for that very interesting analysis and for your time.